my yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach, and welcome back to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to make this sweet and lacy spring or Easter baby bonnet. Now the pattern has 4 sizes included. It has a preemie, a newborn, 3 months and 6 month sizes. And it's super easy to make. It's an open V-stitch, and we have these fun little curls on the ties, which I really love because you don't have to tie the bonnet on to keep it on. You just flip those strings around like this, and those little curls will hold it in place. And then we're adding flowers, and this is the same spring flower that we've been adding to some of our other spring projects. And of course, the amount of flowers that you need depends on the size that you make or how close you want to put your flowers on that front edge. Anywhere from 6 to 12 flowers will work. This is so much fun to make and so cute, but also it's not just for spring. It is a basic bonnet, and if you've made a blanket or a sweater for someone having a baby, this is a great addition. Use up some of that leftover yarn and make a sweet bonnet to match the sweater or blanket. So it's a great baby gift as well. Another thing is the smallest size, the preemie, will fit the American Girl dolls too. So you can do that as well. I love a pattern that gives you lots of options. And the last thing I wanted to say is this isn't just for the little girls. You can leave off these flowers and have a nice bonnet for the little boys as well. So again, lots of options. Now you can find this crochet pattern on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. So the main portion of the bonnet is made with Vanna's Choice acrylic yarn. I chose this because I had it on hand and it's very soft. And of course this one's done in white, and I'm going to make one in this yellow. It's just called Lemon, Vanna's Choice, medium weight, number 4 yarns. Now, if you want it to be just a little bit cooler for the summer, you can do this in cotton yarns as well. So any acrylic, any blend of yarn that you have on hand, as long as it's a medium weight, number 4. I just really prefer the Vanna's Choice for this particular project. And then I just have my flowers that are already made here, and I'm going to make some out of the yellow to mix in as well. And you can use any of the colors that you want. You know, you don't have to do the same colors that I did. And I think it would be beautiful even if it was just done all in one color where the flowers were all a solid color. So just get in your yarn stash and come up with some really fun and cute baby bonnets. And again, if you've got leftover yarn from a blanket that you made, or maybe a sweater or booties, you could always add some of the flowers as an applique so that everything matches. We're going to be stitching today with our H-hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook, and then you just need a needle for weaving in ends and sewing on your flowers. All right, let's get started. We're going to begin with the slip knot, and then we're going to chain. Now, if you're making the preemie size that is 8 inches, you're going to need to chain 11 chains. If you're making the newborn size that is 10 inches, you're going to need to chain 13 chains. If you're making the 3-month size that is 12 inches, you're going to need to chain 15 chains. And then if you're going to make the 6-month size that is a 14-inch bonnet, you're going to need to chain 17 chains. And you need to chain this beginning chain just a little bit loose because we're going to be stitching on both sides of the chain. For the demo today, I'm going to make the preemie size. So I'm going to chain 11 chains. So I've chained my 11 chains. I'm going to place a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then 1 in each of the chains across until I get to that last chain. In the last chain, we're going to stitch 2 single crochets. Now we're going to turn our work, and we're going to be working on the other or opposite side of our chain. And in the first chain, we're going to stitch 2 single crochets. And now we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those remaining chains. We single crocheted in the second chain from the hook and in each chain across, and then stitched 2 single crochets in our last chain. Then we turned and stitched 2 single crochets in our first chain, and then 1 single crochet in each of those chains across. Now we're going to chain 3. And this is how row 1 should look. All right, let's do row 2. We chained 3, we're going to turn our work and double crochet in the next single crochet. Now we're going to skip the next stitch and V-stitch in the next. Our V-stitch is a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Skip the next and V-stitch in the next. Chain 1 and V-stitch in the next. And we'll continue this working up around the bonnet, and you'll be able to see that as we work these V-stitches, you'll see the bonnet begin to curl in the shape of our bonnet. There we go. See how that's kind of curling up, shaping the shape of our bonnet? Now when we reach those last 2 single crochets, we'll skip the next, and then in that last single crochet, we're going to just stitch 2 double crochets, not a V-stitch, and then chain 3. And the number of V-stitches that you'll have will depend on the size that you're making. And this is the way that row 2 should look. All right, let's do row 3. We've chained 3. We're going to turn our work. We're going to double crochet in that next double crochet. Now we're going to go to that chain 1 space and stitch a V-stitch. We'll go to the next chain 1 space and stitch a V-stitch. And we'll do this working all the way around till we reach back to those 2 double crochets. And again, our V-stitch is a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet in that same space. All right, so I'm in my last chain one space of my V-stitch, and I'm stitching a V-stitch. That brings us to those 2 double crochets, and we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those 2. And then we'll chain 3. And so now you can really see the shape of our bonnet taking form. Now if you want to go ahead and weave this one in, I like to get it out of the way so I'm not messing with it as I go, but you can wait till the end. And also make sure that you don't have a hole up there in the center of that bonnet, because you don't want a hole in your bonnet. Alright, so I'm just weaving this in, making sure it's nice and secure. Give a little tug and clip. Alright, and so this is how row 3 should look. Alright, let's do row 4. And row 4 is just a repeat of row 3. Chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, so we'll double crochet in the next, V-stitch in the next chain 1 space, and repeat this all the way around till we get to those last 2 double crochets. This is a really simple pattern, and it makes just a lovely lacy bonnet. So I stitched a V-stitch in each of the chain 1 spaces of the V-stitches. Here's my last one. And then 1 double crochet in those last 2 double crochet stitches and chain 3. And that's the way that row 4 should look. So now what we need to do to complete our bonnet is to do some repeats of row 4. If you're doing the preemie size, you're going to need to repeat for 2 more rows. If you're doing the newborn size, you're going to need to repeat for 4 more rows. If you're doing the 3-month size, you'll need to repeat for 6 more rows. And if you're doing the 6-month size, you'll need to repeat for 8 more rows. And those repeats are of row number 4 that we just completed, the 2 double crochets, V-stitches in the chain 1 spaces of our V-stitches, and then 1 double crochet in those last 2 stitches. I've stitched those 2 additional rows for my size, which I'm doing the preemie size. Once you've stitched the amount of rows that you need for your size, we're going to only chain 1. And that's because we're going to stitch a row of single crochets around the front of our bonnet. We'll stitch a single crochet in that first double crochet, and then a single crochet in the next. And then when we come to our V-stitches, we're only going to stitch a single crochet in the double crochets, not the chain 1 spaces, only in the double crochets. And this will just bring it in a little bit and make it look pretty around their face. So we're stitching 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets around the front of our bonnet. And again, this is for all 4 sizes. I've single crocheted around the front of my bonnet, chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to place a single crochet in each of the single crochets, working back around the front of our bonnet. I stitched that row working back across the front of my bonnet, another row of single crochet, and when I get here I'm going to chain 20. I've chained 20, and now what we're going to do is form that curl on the end of our tie. So we're going to go in the second chain from the hook and stitch 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. And then we'll repeat that on the next 8 chains. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and you'll see already how the end of that is already starting to form that sweet little curl on the end of our tie for our bonnet. Isn't that cute? Now this leaves us 10 chains, and so we're just going to slip stitch in those 10 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to join to that last single crochet with a single crochet. So there's your first tie with your little curl on the end. And what we're going to do is we're going to evenly single crochet across the bottom edge of our bonnet. All right, and so we'll just try to go in those sides of those stitches and make it look nice and even and pretty. And try to go in stitches and not the holes in between where we stitched previously. And this doesn't have a set number of stitches. You just want to try to make it look neat and tidy. You want it to pull in just a little so that it looks nice. All right? We don't want to pull it in too much because we don't want it to be uncomfortable. Just enough where it lays nice. All right, so now I'm at the other side where that first single crochet is, and I'm going to single crochet, and again I'm going to chain 20, and then I'm going to make this curl just like I did this side. So now I have my second tie with my curl made, and I'm just going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch. Got my yarn. I do need this needle. Alrighty, so we'll just thread that on. There we go. And just weave that in nice and secure. And now we can make our pretty flowers if we want to. And let me show you real quick. There we go. Here's our little preemie bonnet. Super cute with the little ribbons or the little curl ties. If you want your ties longer, you definitely can make them longer. It's just kind of up to you what you want. I don't like them very long because I don't really want them tied in a bow. I just want them to kind of hang there together. If you want them to tie in a bow, you certainly can do that. But that's our little preemie bonnet. And now I'm going to add some flowers. I'll show you how to make one, and then I'll add some flowers to it. Isn't that adorable? All right, to make our little spring flower, we're going to begin with a slip knot, chain 2, and then we're going to place 6 single crochets in that chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We'll join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch. And we're only going to chain 6 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now some of the other ones we've chained 7, some we've chained less. This determines how big the petal is going to be. All right, so we'll go to the next single crochet, slip stitch, and chain 6. And repeat. And we'll keep doing this till we have 6 petals. When you've chained your last chain 6 for your 6th petal, you'll join right to that first single crochet. You'll cut your yarn so you have enough to sew the flower on. So you leave about 6 or 8 inches of a tail. And then we want to close up that center of that flower. So we'll weave it in. There we go. And we'll just close it up and weave it in at the same time. We don't want a hole in the center of our flower. Now if you want more loopy flowers, you can add more chains to your petals and make them longer. If you want them to be a little less loopy, then you can add a few less chains. I like chaining 6 for this one because I think it works really great on the bonnet. All right, let me cut that. And that's how the little spring flowers for the bonnets are made. So I've decided to go with these 6 flowers for my bonnet. Now, depending on the size bonnet that you're making, you may want to do up to 12 flowers. It just depends on how close together you want to put them. And so I like 6 for the preemie size. And so I got these flowers all ready to go. You weave in the center like I showed you on the yellow one, and then the long tail is for sewing in place. And what I like to do is put the bonnet flat. Let me move these out of the way. And I like to make sure I get one right there. And so you'll go down in the bonnet, come up the center. We don't sew the petals on, we just go around the center of it, making sure they're sewed on securely. Okay, so the petals are up, the center's sewn on, and then I'll go under here and make sure that's going to hold on tightly. I don't know that this is really going to get pulled because the bonnet's not going to be worn every day or played with every day probably. But as cute as this baby looks in a bonnet, it's probably going to get passed around a little bit. I know when my kids were little, everybody that we went into to see or family members, the babies got passed around. And everybody wanted to see them and play with them. So there's one flower. And then what I do is I'll choose another color and I'll lay it next to it. And I'm going to put 6 on. And so I want to make sure they're put out like this. And so I'll go ahead and sew the next one on. And I'll do that all the way around the bonnet. So here is my completed preemie size Easter spring bonnet. And I only put 6 flowers on there. I really like how it looks. It's super cute. And of course the white one that I did in the newborn size. And again, this pattern has the 3-month and the 6-month size as well. All right, so they're lots of fun to make. And of course your color choices are totally up to you. And this is great for spring and summer and also great for baby gifts.